Hello guys, and welcome back to our countdown to Christmas. Today is the 7th of December and we've got another video where we're putting Necron units up against one another. I'm going to talk about my advantages, disadvantages of those units as if I was selecting them as part of my list. Now if you missed yesterday's video, we were talking about the Catacomb Command Barge versus 2 Necron Overlords. So you'll find that video in the playlist, or if I remember, I'll put it in the top right of your screen now. Also, don't forget we've got our giveaway. All you need to do to enter the giveaway is simply subscribe to the channel, like the video, and in the comments down below say which unit you prefer. You can do that for all the videos in December. There's 24 videos, so 24 potential entries for you, and the draw will be done after Christmas. Right, that's enough of the intro. Let's get on to today's video, which is Illuminor Szeras versus 2 Technomancers. Let's start off with their points cost. Right, so Illuminor Szeras, he's costing you 145 points. And if you wanted the 2 Technomancers at base cost, that's going to be 140 points. So 5 points cheaper. Now there are some upgrade options for the Technomancers, but we'll get onto that later in this video. But at base cost, it's worth noting they are slightly cheaper. Now as for the stats, there's a few stats that are different here. First of all, the movement. Illuminor Szeras is moving 8 inches, whereas the Technomancers are only moving 5. Now there is the option of the Canoptic Cloak to make it move 10 inches and with the fly keyword, but as the base stat goes, Illuminor Szeras wins that with the 8-inch movement. Now on top of that, Illuminor Szeras has got strength 6 with 4 attacks. So he's actually pretty decent in melee. We'll get onto that when we talk about the damage output later in this video. Whereas the Technomancer, he's only got strength 4 and only 1 attack and pretty much does nothing in melee. So that is definitely another point to Illuminor Szeras. Then the final stat of note worth mentioning is the fact that Illuminor Szeras has got 7 wounds. Now the Technomancers only have 4, but we're taking 2 Technomancers in this comparison, so that would actually combine to 8. So not too much difference there, and it's just worth mentioning here that neither of these models have got an M1 save. In fact, one final thing, the armor save. Illuminor Szeras has got a 3+ armor save and the Technomancers actually have a 4+. So I think that one's an easy point to Illuminor Szeras overall. Right, on to the abilities next. First of all, let's talk about what they've got similar. They've got the Rites of Reanimation ability to be bringing back a core unit within 6 inches of the model. Now of course, Illuminor Szeras' ability doesn't just have to be Dynasty core units, it could be anything such as your Trike Praetorians, which don't even have a Dynasty. So there's already a slight advantage with Illuminor Szeras there. Now speaking of the Rites of Reanimation, Illuminor Szeras can actually use it twice in a given turn. In fact 3 times if you use a stratagem, but the Technomancer also has access to that stratagem, but Illuminor Szeras has an extra Rites of Reanimation in a single command phase. Now as for some more unique abilities to Illuminor Szeras, well first of all he's got the Empiric Overcharger, so he can effectively deny the Witch. He's then got the Mechanical Augmentation ability, so core units within close proximity of Illuminor Szeras can be buffed. Now it is a random buff, it's either the strength, the toughness or the ballistic skill, but hey, not too bad. Then finally the Atomic Energy Manipulator, which allows him to use his augmentation ability again for that turn. So that's his unique abilities. What about the Technomancers? What are unique to those 2 Technomancers that we got today? First of all, worth mentioning the Dynastic Advisor's ability to be able to bring a second Cryptek model. Now you do need a Noble in your list to do that, but if you do bring a second Cryptek, it's not going to take a HQ slot. That's the first one. The second one, optional, which is the Canoptic Cloak. This is a free upgrade. We mentioned it in the intro. It gives the Technomancer a 10-inch movement and the fly keyword, and he's able to heal models D3 lost wounds in your command phase. Finally, he's got the Canoptic Control Node, which is going to be a 10-point upgrade. Can't be taken alongside the Canoptic Cloak, but what it will do is a +1 to hit for Canoptic units nearby. So lots more flexibility with the Technomancer. In fact, I think I prefer the Technomancer's unique abilities more. They're less random and there's more synergy within the entire codex. On to weapons next. Let's talk about Illuminor Szeras' weapon. So he's got the Eldritch Lance, which is a shooting attack as well as a melee attack. The shooting side of it is 36-inch range assault D3, strength 8, -4 AP, and the damage is D6. So a pretty hefty shooty weapon, although the damage is slightly random. But what are you expecting from a character model? Normally you don't get that much range attacks. So yes, that's not too bad. As for the melee side of it, it's strength 6, -4 AP and 2 damage. So with his 4 attacks hitting on 3s, yeah, he could be doing a bit of work with that too. He's then got his Impaling Legs, which is an additional 2 attacks on top of that. Now these are only strength 6, -2 AP and 1 damage. But hey, more attacks means potentially more models removed. Now that's what Illuminor Szeras has. What about the Technomancer? Well, he comes equipped with the Staff of Light. It's not too bad of a weapon if I'm honest with you. Basically it's a freebie. It's shooting and melee, 18-inch range assault 3, strength 5, -2 AP, 1 damage, and in melee it's strength user, so this time it will be strength 4, -2 AP and 1 damage. Don't expect too much from it. Now potentially you could upgrade that Staff of Light to the Voltaic Staff, but that's better served on say a Catacomb Command Barge for example, or even an Overlord. So that one is another easy point I think to Illuminor Szeras. Next I wanted to talk about Codex synergy. First I want to mention the Cryptothralls. These are available to both of these units. Cryptothralls basically are 2 models for 40 points, and they've got the Lookout Sir ability attached to them if you've got a Cryptek nearby, and they're also buffed if they're near the Cryptek on top of that. Now that's not unique to either of these models, so let's get on to the more unique stuff here. So with the Technomancers, if you were to take the Canoptic Control Node for example, anything that's Canoptic is going to get that +1 to the hit roll, so it could be Canoptic Wraiths, Canoptic Acanthrites, Canoptic Spiders, Canoptic Scarabs. There's quite a lot of Canoptic units within our codex to be benefiting from that +1 to the hit roll. Furthermore, they've got access to the Cryptek Arcana, whereas named Crypteks do not gain access to the Arcana. Now, to be honest, some of the Arcana is kind of garbage. There is 1 or 2 in there that's not too bad, like the Failsafe Overcharger, or perhaps the Dimensional Sanctum. Those 2 are the only ones I'd probably use. Oh, and the Prismatic Obfuscation as well. I quite like that one. I just don't like saying it. I always get my tongue twisted. Also worth mentioning that Illuminor Szeras is a dynastic agent, whereas the Technomancers belong to a dynasty, so of course they get in the dynasty code, whether it's objective secured, whether it's the Xerican dynasty for the 5+4 no pain, whatever you're taking, Illuminor Szeras cannot gain access to those dynasty codes. And something else the Technomancers gain access to is the new Army of Renown Cult of the Cryptek, because of course they are Cryptek models. Now you might be thinking, well, Illuminor Szeras is a Cryptek model, right? Now he doesn't gain access to Cult of the Cryptek, and the reason is as follows. One of the restrictions for the Cult of the Cryptek is that all units must be from the same dynasty. Unfortunately, Illuminor Szeras does not have any dynasty, so therefore he cannot be within the same dynasty. Now usually this part of the ability, it states that it doesn't include dynastic agents, but rules as written in that White Dwarf magazine, it doesn't say that sentence at the end of the restriction, so as far as I can see, Illuminor Szeras cannot be entered for Cult of the Cryptek. So then in that case, what unique synergy does Illuminor Szeras have? Well, I like to use Illuminor Szeras in my list that are anti-cycle lists, such as taking the Canoptic Spiders with the Gloom Prisms, possibly the Silent King, he's got his own anti-cycle ability, and the Xerican Dynasty of course with that Stratagem and Pyric Damping. Those kind of units are anti-cycle models, and yeah, Illuminor Szeras has got his own anti-cycle ability, kind of synergizes just fine with that. But I think overall synergy, I've got to score that one to the 2 Technomancers. Next we're talking about the overall purpose in game of these 2 units, or 3 units, depends how you look at it. Illuminor Szeras, first of all, of course he's bringing back core units like the Technomancers are. He's going to be randomly buffing core units on top of that. Are you going to field your game around that? You can't always rely on it because it is a random dice roll with that augmentation ability, but a lot of the time 2 out of 3 of those random options are actually not too bad. He's slightly better at damage, so he can go out and do some damage, and of course he's an anti-cycler if you are playing an anti-cycle list. The Technomancers have got more of a multi-use, they're more flexible. You're either taking them with the Canoptic units with the control node, maybe you're just taking them with core units such as your Locust Heavy Destroyers to be reanimating them, along with that Canoptic Cloak to be healing them on top of that, something I quite like to do. But then you can stick all your relics and warlord traits and all that kind of stuff on your Technomancers as well, whereas that's something that Illuminor Szeras cannot do. Okay, let's get on to the advantages and disadvantages before I make my decision on which units I will be selecting today. So Illuminor Szeras, advantages of taking this model. So he is quicker at 8-inch movement. I've put a little asterisk there because of course the Canoptic Cloak will quicken those Technomancer models to a 10-inch movement. But as a base stat goes, Illuminor Szeras is quicker, he's strength 6, he's much more resilient with toughness 6 and 7 wounds with a 3+ armor save. And then he's going to be augmenting our core units. He's then an anti-cycle model, and finally he can use his rites of reanimation twice in a given turn, potentially 3 times with that stratagem. That's the advantages. As for the disadvantages, well, he can only be in one location versus the 2 Technomancers, which can be in 2 completely different locations. Very similar to the Catacomb Command Barge versus the 2 Necron Overlords there. Can't be everywhere unfortunately. Now he's got less combined wounds as a total, having a total of 7 wounds versus the 2 Technomancers combined total of 8. The augmentation ability, although it is good, it is random. So the last thing you want to be doing is giving, say, Lichguard models a +1 to their ballistic skill because they don't have ranged attacks. So sometimes that can backfire. He's got no options of the relics, he's got no option of the warlord traits, he's got his own unique warlord trait, which we haven't actually mentioned in this video, but it's the Enduring Will for -1 to all damage taken, which is actually not the worst one there. He's got no access to the Cryptek Arcana, he's got no dynasty code, and finally he's not selectable with the Cult of the Cryptek Army of Renown. But that's the advantages and disadvantages of Illuminor Szeras. What about the 2 Technomancers? So they're going to be buffing units from 2 different locations, which is pretty nice. A combined total of 8 wounds as opposed to Illuminor Szeras' 7. They're going to be buffing Canoptic units, especially with that control node, or they're going to be healing D3 lost wounds to friendlies with a Canoptic Cloak. They've got the option of the Cult of the Cryptek, as well as the Cryptek Arcana, and final advantage is options of relics and warlord traits. So as for the disadvantages, well, they're slower again, unless you're taking that Canoptic Cloak. They offer absolutely nothing in melee. I mean, yes, the Staff of Light can do something, but 1 attack at strength 4, yeah, don't count on it. They're not really offering much in range either, nothing quite like what Illuminor Szeras can do anyway, and finally, they're just less survivable. Only toughness 4 with 4 wounds, 4+ armor save, and no N1 save. Right, so I've summed up the 2 units today. Now it's time for me to select one of these datasheet options that I'd prefer to build a list around if I had the choice. I think this one's easier than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to be selecting the 2 Technomancers. Right guys, before we leave, just remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and down below in the comments put down what you would choose. Don't have to say why, just let me know so that you can enter the giveaway. Thank you all for watching, I'll see you tomorrow.